Okay, so the podalic pole of the baby is presenting in the lower pole of the uterus. You call it as a breech presentation, right? So what is the incidence? So prematurity is the commonest cause of breech. Many times when the patient is remote from term, at 28 weeks you find almost 25% of the babies being in breech presentation. As you come closer to term, the baby undergoes spontaneous version and the head comes to occupy the lower pole of the uterus. That's why at 32 weeks the incidence will reduce and you will find only 7% of babies presenting as breech. At term, you find only 3 to 4% incidence of breech presentation. So what are the types of breech? So the frank breech is where you can see the, depending upon the flexion or extension at the level of the hips and knees, you have different types of breech. A frank breech is also called an extended breech, where you have flexion at the hips and extension at the knee. So you can see that the hips are flexed, whereas the knee is extended. The two legs are splinting the baby's body. So when it presents as a frank breech, you find that the head is splinted by the baby's legs, and so it will not be very freely velotable, right? So frank breech is also called as extended breech. Then you have a complete breech where you have a flexion at all joints. You have flexion at the hips and flexion at the knees. So that is called as a complete breech. So when you do a PV, in a complete breech, you will feel the buttocks of the baby on one side, the external genitalia of the baby, and the foot can be palpated when you do a PV. Whereas in a frank breech, when you do a PV, you will be feeling the baby's sacrum and the tuberosity, ischial tuberosity of the baby on either side, and the anal sphincter can be felt, right? So the ischial tuberosities and the anal sphincter will be forming a straight line. In a frank breech, you will not be able to feel the baby's foot. Whereas in a complete breech, which is also called as a flexed breech, you'll be able to feel the buttocks on one side and the baby's foot on the other side. So this is a footling presentation where you have extension at the hip and extension at the knee. There's another thing called a knee presentation where you have extension at the hip and flexion at the knee. That will be called as a knee presentation. So idella footling knee, idella you will be calling as a incomplete breech, right? So coming to the etiology, majora you have maternal factors, fetal factors, and placental factors. So maternal factors are multiparous woman. A woman who is who's had 2 or more deliveries, you will call her as a multiparous woman. Her abdomen will be so lax, and so there's more chance of malpresentation. I already told you uterine anomalies like biconvate uterus or a uniconvate uterus or a subseptate uterus more associated with a breech presentation. When you have fibroids in the lower uterine segment, you find that the baby presents as breech very often. Coming to fetal factors, when you have multiple pregnancy, more chance of breech and other malpresentations. When you have anomalies in the baby like hydrocephalus or anencephaly, more chance of having a breech presentation. Then any neuromuscular disorders in the baby, which prevents the baby from kicking and undergoing spontaneous version. Okay, so any myoclonic dystrophies in the baby can also present as a breech presentation. The placental factors, any major placenta previa, the major chunk of the placenta is lying in the lower uterine segment, so the baby cannot turn around and become a cephalic presentation. Cornuofundal placental implantation, this is one common cause for recurrent breech. So in the patient, every pregnancy will present as breech. Cornuofundal presentation of the placenta and also uterine anomalies is a cause for recurrent breech, right? So any premature baby, I already told you, preterm or 32 weeks, 28 weeks, many times baby will be in breech presentation. When quantity of liquor is more also, the baby will not undergo spontaneous version. It will remain in some malpresentation or the other, right? Coming to the complications, why are we worried about the breech? We already know that there can be maternal complications. You can have a lot of genital tract injuries because the mechanism is more complicated than a cephalic presentation. You can have more soft tissue injuries in the mother and more chance of cesarean deliveries. Coming to the baby, you have many inherent problems itself in the baby. Like I told you, the baby could have an anomaly or it could have neuromuscular disorders. And complications during the course of delivery, the baby could have a cord prolapse or cord entanglement, or the baby can have asphyxia because of entrapment of the actor coming head, and a lot of trauma in the baby in the form of fractures of long bones or intracerebral hemorrhage, fractures of the skull bone, spinal cord injuries, then injuries to the external genitalia, then the abdominal soft tissues also can get injured. Okay, so a lot of complications are present. That is why we are not happy when a patient comes with a breech presentation to the labor ward for delivery. Okay, so how do we diagnose? When abdominal examination, pelvic examination, and ultrasound. Right. On abdominal palpation, like she already presented, you can feel the head by the fundal grip. You can feel the head in the upper pole, and the head will not be ballotable, like I told you, in a frank breech where both the legs are splinting the head, and you will feel the breech in the lower pole, right? And you will feel the fetal heart above the umbilicus. So that will tell you that will give you a suspicion that it could be a breech presentation. When you do a vaginal examination, I already told you, you'll be feeling the sacrum of the baby, the ischial tuberosity. Sometimes you can feel, and you can feel the external anal sphincter of the baby. The genitals of the baby can also be felt. And when membranes are absent, the baby will be passing meconium, so your glove will be meconium stained. When it is a complete breech, that means it's a flex breech. So you can feel the buttocks of the baby on one side and the feet of the baby on the other. Now this is what I was telling you. When it is a frank breech, the bony points which you will be feeling will be the ischial tuberosity, and you can feel the anus in between. Where this should be differentiated from a face presentation, where you will be feeling the maxillae of the baby, the malar eminence of the baby, and the baby's mouth will form a triangle. Okay, whereas the ischial tuberosities and the anus will be forming a straight line. So sometimes an external extended breech can be mistaken when you do a PV for a face presentation. You should remember to see whether the bony prominence is making a straight line with the anus or whether it is forming a triangle like in the face presentation. The malar eminences and the mouth will form a triangle. So coming to the ultrasound, I already told you many times, you have to confirm what type of breech it is, and you should also rule out anomalies in the baby. You have to rule out uterine anomalies. You have to see the quantity of LICA, and most importantly, you have to look for the attitude of the fetal head. The baby's head should not be hyperextended. That means the baby will be looking up. So that is called the star-gazing sign. So when you have a hyperextended attitude of the fetal head, it is a contraindication for vaginal breech delivery. When the baby's head is extended, you find that on ultrasound, it's called a star-gazing sign, and that is an indication for a cesarean section. So the mechanism I already told you, mechanism occurs in 3 stages, right? Delivery of the breech, delivery of the shoulder, delivery of the after-coming head. Whenever you are asked a mechanism of labor, you should always tell what is the bony denominator. Here the denominator is the sacrum, the engaging diameter is the bitrochanteric diameter, which is 9.5 centimeters, and 4 positions are possible. Cardinal movements in the delivery of the breech will be engagement. Engagement is greatest diameter of the presenting part has crossed the pelvic brim. So when you do a PV, engagement aichina, whether it's a head or breech, the presenting part will be at the level of 0 station. That means the head will be at the level of the ischial spines. Okay. So there is descent. The baby, because of uterine contractions, the baby gets pushed into the birth passage. Okay. So there is something called compaction. Okay. Vertex presentation la நம்ம சொல்லுவோம் descent with increasing flexion, whereas in breech it's called compaction. So the fetal parts come closer to one another, and so when the one of the buttock of the baby touches the pelvic floor, it undergoes internal rotation, right? ஒரு difference cephalic-க்கும் breech-க்கும் என்னன்னா, in a cephalic presentation, anterior position la the rotation will be always through 1/8 of a circle. Posterior la you have a long rotation through 3/8 of a circle. Whereas in a breech delivery, எப்பவுமே ஒரு buttock will be anterior. So the rotation, whether it's anterior position or posterior position, is always through 1/8 of a circle, that is 45 degrees, right? And so the anterior buttock will get hitched against the symphysis pubis, and the posterior the buttock, which is in the curve of the sacrum, will deliver first by lateroflexion. You call it as lateroflexion of the fetal spine. Next, what happens? The next will be the delivery of the shoulders. Again, the shoulder will be presenting, if it is a LSA, left sacroanterior. So the shoulders, the bisacromial diameter is 12 centimeters. Again, it will be presenting in the left oblique diameter. The anterior shoulder will undergo internal rotation. The anterior shoulder will be hitched against the symphysis pubis. The posterior shoulder will be born first. Next will be the delivery of the after-coming head. Again, the head will be presenting in the opposite oblique diameter, in the right oblique. LSA la, the occiput will be presenting with the suboccipitofrontal diameter, that is 10 centimeters, and the head will be borne by flexion. Okay, the face will sweep over the perineum and the head will be borne by flexion. So in the whenever you're asked mechanism, you should be talking about this. There is something called conduct of breech delivery. Adila vandu you should be talking about spontaneous breech delivery, assisted breech delivery, and breech extraction, right? So management, we already discussed. You do an external cephalic version, preferably at 37 weeks. It is more successful when you have a complete breech. Extended breech, both the legs will be splinting the baby, so it is difficult to turn the baby around. When you have less liquor, again it is difficult to turn the baby around. Okay, if the baby is too big or too small, again it will be less successful. Okay, so external cephalic version can be attempted at 37 weeks. Sometimes the baby can revert back to its breech position. So this is the picture showing the external cephalic version where no anesthesia is required. Some people advocate the use of tocolytics or uterine relaxants like terbutaline. You should do a fetal cardiotocogram to see if the baby's heart rate is okay. And then you can do a forward flip or a backward somersault. Okay, so you can either move the baby forwards and bring the head to the lower pole, or you can move the baby backwards and somehow bring the baby's head to the lower pole and make it a cephalic presentation. Because the perinatal mortality with a cephalic presentation delivering vaginally is much lesser than a breech. That's why we attempt an external cephalic version. Okay, so when you're doing an external cephalic version, the baby can go in for distress. So that's why I said you have to keep doing the fetal cardiotocogram. After the procedure is completed also, you do another NST or a CTG to confirm that the baby's condition is okay. Sometimes you can cause an abruptio of the placenta when you're doing this procedure. You can have a fetal-maternal hemorrhage, especially in an Rh negative mother. That's why you should be giving an anti-D. You can cause rupture of membranes or even sometimes uterine rupture, especially in a scarred uterus like a previous cesarean. That's why when you do ECV, you should not be doing it on a scarred uterus. So when the patient comes at term, she doesn't come at 37 weeks, she comes only at term, like the case which she presented today. Okay, so what are the different modes of delivery? You could either do a cesarean section or you can allow for a vaginal delivery also. So when do you plan for a cesarean? Whenever the size of the baby is more than 3.5 kgs, it's preferable to do a cesarean. When it is presenting as footling or a knee presentation, what can happen? Because it's an ill-fitting presenting part, you can have cord prolapse. Okay, then you lose the baby. So when you have a footling breech, it's always better to do a cesarean section. When the head of the baby, the attitude of the head is hyperextended. I told you, when you see on scan, you find the baby is looking up as if it's counting the stars, the star gazing sign. You should never allow for a vaginal delivery. What do you mean by a complicated breech? That means the patient has a breech presentation and she has other complications like gestational hypertension or GDM. Okay, so breech presentation along with some other obstetric complication is called a complicated breech. Okay, so andha madri patients you do not allow for a vaginal delivery. Placenta previa, I already told you, major placenta previa, like type 3, type 4, will start bleeding and you can have a lot of complications, or it will be covering the os. You cannot allow for a vaginal delivery. Contracted pelvis, again, or you have a lot of maneuvers and manipulations to do. So you should not be allowing for a vaginal delivery in these patients. You should take them up for an elective cesarean, preferably after 38 weeks. It should be taken up for cesarean section. Where do we allow for vaginal breech? So wherever the baby size is average, wherever there is no other complication, it's an uncomplicated breech. The patient does not have gestational hypertension or GDM. She has a previous normal delivery. That means her pelvis is good, it's adequate. We know that she can have a vaginal delivery. And the baby is the only average size, it's not more than 3 kg. And it is an extended breech, it is preferable to give a vaginal delivery. Okay, because extended breech will be just like a head, it will be well fitting into the cervix. It will not have an increased chance of cord prolapse also, right? So whenever you have a vaginal breech delivery, an extended breech is preferable in comparison to a flex breech or a footling, right? So vaginal breech so conduct of breech delivery la moonu irukku. So spontaneous breech romba preterm, tannala baby will come out and fall out on its own. Next is the assisted breech, where you have to allow the baby to deliver on its own up to the level of the umbilicus, and rest of the baby you have to help it out. And the third is a breech extraction. Breech extraction is under anesthesia. The patient is taken to theatre, you rupture the membranes, put your hand into the uterus. The patient is under general anesthesia. You put your hand in and hold the baby's foot and bring it out and conduct a breech delivery. That is called as a breech extraction. Where do we do a breech extraction? It is always when the second of the twin. In modern obstetrics, breech extraction mostly we do And the second of the twin is in transverse lie. We go to the theater, we do an artificial rupture of membranes when the patient is under GA, and you grasp the baby's foot and do an internal podalic version. This is in contrast to an external cephalic version where no anesthesia is given, right? So breech extraction eppo pannuvom, always when you do an IP version, internal podalic version, mostly we do it for the second of the twin presenting as transverse lie. Okay, that is called as breech extraction. So assisted breech delivery, always remember it should be done only in a tertiary institution where you have a senior obstetrician who is having the skill of doing the various maneuvers, and you should have facilities for continuous electronic fetal monitoring. The neonatologist should be available round the clock, and you have to have facilities for 24 hours cesarean section. And you should have also know the various maneuvers and should have the Piper's forceps for the after coming head of the baby. So the patient's attender should be counseled that they are willing for a vaginal breech delivery. You should get a written consent, and no induction is or augmentation is required. It should not be done. You should not induce labor, or you should not be accelerating with oxytocin, but we do that. Sometimes we do put oxytocin. We don't do an artificial rupture of membranes early in the breech presentation, right? When the baby is very big, more than 3.5 kgs, okay, you take them up for cesarean sonella. That is called as a feto-pelvic disproportion. This is in contrast to a cephalopelvic disproportion, which will happen in a cephalic presentation, right? So the procedure I already told you, till the umbilicus is born, you should allow the baby to be delivering on its own. And most importantly, patient should be brought to the edge of the table and her leg should be put up on stirrups in a lithotomy position. And you should always give an episiotomy when the breech of the baby is climbing the perineum, we say. That means you can see the anal orifice of the baby at the mother's introitus in between uterine contractions. This is similar to crowning in a vertex presentation. Seriya? So you should give episiotomy. Always the patient should be in lithotomy position. Her legs should be up on stirrups. Cephalic presentation, patient table paduthu dorsal position la irundale you can conduct a delivery. Whereas breech patient should be brought to the edge of the table and her legs should be up on the stirrups in a lithotomy position, right? So once the baby's umbilicus varikam vandapro, you should ensure three things. One, that the baby's back is anterior. Next, you should pull the baby's cord and keep it to one side so that it does not get compressed. And third, you should cover the baby with a towel so that it does not make premature attempts at breathing. The baby's head is still inside. If the baby starts breathing, it will aspirate meconium. Okay. So once the patient, once you start assisting, this is how you should hold the baby. This grip is called the femoropelvic grip. So your thumb should be on the baby's sacrum and your fingers should be over the iliac crest of the baby. This is the femoropelvic grip. And the baby should be covered with a towel. The cord should be pulled and kept to one side. And the baby should ensure that the baby's back is facing you. You should not allow the baby's back to go to the posterior side. Right. So now you give gentle traction and you hook out the baby's arms. Suppose you have difficulty in delivering the arms, you use the Lausset's maneuver. Okay, the principle of Lausset's maneuver is the posterior arm, which is in the curve of the sacrum, is always at a lower level when compared to the anterior arm. So when you have difficulty, you have extended arms, you always rotate the baby through 180 degrees so that the posterior arm is brought anteriorly and it comes under the symphysis pubis and it can be delivered. That is called as Lausset's maneuver. Now the after coming head, you should always ensure the baby is hanging by its weight. Because it's at the edge of the table, you can see the baby's hairline, the nape of the baby's neck, you call it. You allow the baby to hang by its weight and then you grasp the baby's foot and make an arc over the mother's abdomen. So this is how you deliver the babies after coming head. This is called the Burns-Marshall technique. And you always have an assistant to give suprapubic pressure to promote flexion of the fetal head. That's absolutely important, right? Next is the Marceau-Smellie-Vieck technique. Here, the left hand of the supinated left hand of the obstetrician is kept below the baby. The baby is allowed to lie astride over the mother, the left forearm of the delivering doctor. And the right forearm, the hands are hooked over the baby's shoulders. And the left hand, the left fingers, what does the left finger do? The presenting obstetrician, the two fingers, the middle and the index fingers are kept over the malar eminences of the baby and you promote flexion of the baby's head. You have an assistant giving suprapubic pressure that will also promote flexion and your hand from below will be on the malar eminences of the baby so that it will promote flexion of the baby's head. and the hand above is going to again make an arc over the mother's abdomen and deliver the baby. That is the Mauritius-Mellivre technique. And the third technique to use to deliver the after coming head is the Piper's forceps. The Piper's forceps is always applied from below the baby. The baby is wrapped with a towel and the assistant lifts up the baby and the Piper's forceps are applied from below, and it promotes flexion of the baby's head and the baby is delivered using the Piper's forceps. So after coming head delivery now, we should be talking about Burch-Marshall's technique, Mauritius-Mellivre technique, and the Piper's forceps. Right. So we can have difficulties inherent in the breech delivery, lot of difficulties at various levels. Sometimes the baby's legs will be extended breech layer. What can happen? Baby's legs will not come out. So the obstetrician puts her hand in and with her fingers, she presses on the baby's popliteal fossa. Then the knees will flex and then the obstetrician grasps the baby's foot and brings it out. That's called the Pinard's maneuver. Right. Now the extended arms, I already told you the Lausset's maneuver. The principle of Lausset's maneuver is the posterior shoulder in the curve of the sacrum is always at a lower level when compared to the anterior shoulder, which is behind the symphysis pubis. This is due to the inclination of the mother's pelvis. So when you rotate, when you have difficulty in delivering the extended arms, you rotate the baby such that through 180 degrees, so that the posterior arm will come anteriorly and it will present below the pubic arch and you can hook out the arm. Again, rotate the baby through another 180 degrees and deliver the other arm. That's called the Lausset's maneuver. So sometimes, especially in a preterm breech, the small body of the baby will easily slip out even before the cervix becomes fully dilated. At that time, what can happen? The baby's head can get entrapped in the undilated cervix. So what do you do for that? That's called the entrapment of the after coming head. It is very common in a preterm breech. You have to give an incision. You have to cut the cervix. Okay, at the 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock position. That's called the Duhausen's incision. You cut the cervix and deliver the entrapped fetal head. Okay, so that is called as entrapment, common in a preterm breech. That's why in preterm breech, many people advocate to do a cesarean section to avoid entrapment. Okay, so the various birth injuries which can occur in a breech are tentorial tears. I already told you, because you're pulling on the baby's head, you can have tentorial tears, you can have intracranial bleeds because you're pulling on the neck. Brachial plexus injuries, spinal cord injuries, can have long bone fractures like humerus and femur, can have depressed fractures of the skull, can have injuries to the baby's soft parts like the external genitalia and abdominal viscera of the baby. That is why we don't like to have a vaginal breech delivery. But that does not mean that you can't have it. You should improve your skills and you should learn to conduct breech deliveries so that you can successfully deliver a patient who comes suddenly to labor ward with inactive labor, when it is very difficult to shift the patient to the OT. Sometimes they come so late, it is not possible to take them up for cesarean section. Right, okay. So please go read up. I'm sure you'll have a lot of doubts. I don't know how better we can teach you on virtual. On YouTube, you have many PowerPoints and videos which show you breech deliveries, the various maneuvers. Okay, as an undergraduate, if you know the basics and the names itself, it's more than enough. Right? So please go and read. And if you have any doubts, you can please ask us. Right?